What's up, everybody? It is I, your coach, Melanie Black, and tonight you are joining me for episode 3, concluding week 2 of my most massive weight loss experiment yet. If you don't already know me, I'm a personal trainer, sports nutritionist, body positive coach. I've been doing the dang thing for 10 years now, and helping lots of people lose the body fat. But last year, one of my students challenged me. She said, Melanie, when you lost all of your body fat, you were still in your 20s. Losing body fat in your 40s, not so easy. Not so easy, she says. So I felt like I was given a challenge to understand what it actually takes. And this year I am 42. It is the COVID times. I don't have any other challenges to do. So I deliberately gained on 50 pounds to see if I could lose it in 18 weeks using the same meal plan I give these folks here. So today is concluding week 2, and I am going to share with you all of my struggles, the meals that I'm eating, the challenges, the realness, the body realness that you will experience if you decide to go through your own weight loss journey, or maybe you're already on your weight loss journey. Maybe you're doing a plan with me like this right now, or maybe you're just finding us on YouTube and discovering how to actually begin to lose the weight and all that stuff, and want to do it with some folks who understand what you're going through. That's what we're here for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Week 1 through week 2. So the first 14 days, my big successes so far. Number 1, I lost between 11 and 13 pounds of fat, and I'll tell you how I got to that number in a little bit here. I am on track so far for 50 pounds in 18 weeks. Now, to be clear, on this meal plan, you will have accelerated weight loss at the beginning of the meal plan. So if you're on this meal plan, month number 1, you can expect to lose, like 20 to 30 pounds, depending on how much body fat you have to lose, if you've got that to lose. This is not a rate of weight loss that will continue. Beyond the first month or 8 weeks. After 6 to 8 weeks, it really slows down quite a bit, and you can expect it to dwindle down to like 1 to 2 pounds per week as you get closer to your goal body weight. So as I'm talking about these numbers at the beginning here, I know the beginning is very exciting. There's major transformation that happens in the first couple of weeks. Please keep that in mind, that this is not going to be a thing. I'm not going to lose, a pound a day for the next 18 weeks. That ain't going to happen, okay? So just as we're talking about these things, I want to make sure you have a good grip on reality here. So yes, so far, so good. We're on track. We're losing the weight. We're on track, not just weight on the scale, but actual body fat. Okay. Challenges. There were many in these first 14 days. Mood swings, the volume of food, getting enough vegetables, water weight fluctuations on the scale, walking in, and other weird body stuff. So I will share with you some of my personal struggles and how that impacted everything. Now this photo here with me with this measuring cup, this is, even though we do the food by weight on the food scale, not by volume, I chucked my meal into one of these measuring cups just to give you an idea of when I say I was struggling with volume. This is about the volume per meal we're talking about. It is a lot of food, and this is the very first and most frequent complaint that I get on this meal plan, and I'm going to complain about it too. It is the volume of food. It is a low-calorie, high-volume plan. And this is both one of its greatest features and greatest challenges. So this is the measuring cup that I was talking about. It's a 1 quart or 4 cup measuring cup. And so I'm 5'5", and by the time I put my 5 ounces of protein, my 6 ounces of vegetables, and my 4.5 ounces of carbohydrate in here, it fills the whole dang thing. I mean, I don't smush it down, but like it fills the whole thing. So as we're looking at my food journal, every time you see the bowl of food, it's like, this is the size we're talking about here for a meal. And there's 3 meals per day. plus snacks, which consist of 2 ounces of protein and another 6 ounces of vegetables. Now, if you're on this meal plan and you're struggling to get all that volume in, you can eliminate the snacks. Don't force yourself to eat beyond being full, but I will give you a word of warning. If you choose to eliminate the snacks or reduce the total volume of food, be really attentive to how hungry you feel. Hunger is the enemy of any meal plan. There is not enough willpower in the world to overcome hunger. Willpower is just not a thing. You never want to rely on willpower on any diet, okay? Willpower does not actually... Look, we're humans. We didn't survive droughts and famine, and your ancestors didn't get the chance to survive without like wanting to eat everything that was around them and reaching out for the most calorically dense foods. So whatever you think you have in the willpower department, just toss it out the window when it comes to staying on a nutrition plan that will ultimately help you lose weight. Do not consider willpower. Good planning, that will overcome making sure you're getting enough volume of food in that you don't get hungry. That will overcome and allow you to actually stay on the plan, but don't rely on your willpower. Okay, so back to some of the challenges here. So volume, mood swings. I still have a menstrual cycle, and my mood swings are severe. Okay, I am not a stable mind when it comes to I get cramps, I get headaches, I get bloated, I get angry, my face breaks out, like I get all the things, and that's this week. So as you're watching this stuff, I will be kind of candid with you about those problems. If you are a person who experiences menstrual cycle, hopefully you can have some solidarity with me. For those of you who don't have a menstrual cycle, like hell, we all go through mood swings, right? So hopefully a little bit relatable. Yeah. Okay. Vegetables, haven't been getting enough vegetables in. Water weight fluctuations, yes. I have not been walking because weird body stuff. I've got like this pain on my heel, and I don't want it to be, I'm keeping an eye on it to make sure it doesn't develop into like a plantar fasciitis. So I haven't been walking the 10,000 steps that I recommend. I have been exercising twice a day, but not walking. Okay, moving on. All right, so a little recap here. This was day 1 for me. This is the very first day before I began the meal plan, and I weighed in at 203 pounds, neck 13.25, waist 37, belly 41, hips 46, biceps 13.5, thigh 27.5, calves 18.5, and estimated body fat between 40 and 45. Now, I do recommend doing measurements, and in episode 1 of my Fat Loss Journey, I talk about how to do the measurements and why it's so important, mostly so that we can actually track real fat loss, not just weight on the scale. Okay, day 7. So again, this was last week. I weighed in at 193.8. Neck went down a little bit, 13. Waist went down, 34.5. Belly, 39. Hips, 45. Biceps, 13. Thigh 27, and calves 18.5, and estimated body fat between 34 and 42. Okay, so here we are, day 14. So this was yesterday. Weighed in 191, waist 33, belly 37, hips 44.5, biceps 13, thigh 26.5, calves 18.5, and between 30 and 40 on the body fat. Now, what this actually looks like side by side. So in week 1, the thing we noticed, and we talked about this in the last episode, was I noticed a huge difference in the amount of back fat. If you look in week 1, that's where the main difference is. In week 1, I lost 9.2 pounds on the scale, a total of 7.25 inches overall, and probably between 7 and 8 pounds of actual fat. So even though I lost more on the scale, that was probably a water weight difference. 7 to 8 pounds is probably what I actually lost in fat that week, based on the circumference measurements and estimates from the Navy calculator, which puts your data against a bunch of other normative data. Now, I should note that if you are a person who is not binary, one end or the other end of the gender spectrum, spectrum, you will have a little bit of a tougher time with that Navy calculator because it is putting you against normative data. This is the issue we face with a lot of things in fitness, is that it's based off of normative data on the gender binary. So if you're a person somewhere in between, then just go ahead and take those measurements and you do you, and don't worry about putting yourself against like charts and stuff like that, because it's just going to be frustrating. Okay, so back to here's week number 2 completed. So this past week, the main difference I see in this past week is in the upper abs. So upper abs, I even see like one little abdominal muscle trying to peek through on one side of my abs up there. I do still have abs. They're in the cooler right now. I've got them in there. So days 7 through 14, so week number 2, I lost 2.8 pounds on the scale, but I was down 6.25 inches. So I probably lost closer to 4 to 5 pounds on the scale this week. And the reason why it wasn't all reflected on, I lost closer to 4 to 5 pounds of fat this week. The reason it wasn't all reflected on the scale is because of the water weight, because I am on my menstrual cycle right now. So that is why. So I lost definitely inches. Around the midsection, I do see a visible difference. I am starting to already kind of enter what I would call the ugly duckling phase of my weight loss journey. And this is a really common frustration for many people. Less common or less severe for me at this point in my life. But as you lose weight, you're not going to necessarily lose from everywhere evenly. It's not a pretty process. Some people lose from the top down, others from the bottom up. You're going to have saggy skin. You're going to have weird stuff happen in your body. And a lot of times the areas that we pay attention to the most are the last ones to lose the fat. So for me, I have very large thighs and legs, and it frustrates me because it's like hard to find jeans and all this kind of stuff, right? So here I am waiting for those thighs to go down, and those are going to be the very last things to go down. I know this because I've gone through this with my body before, but if you are in your first weight loss journey, or maybe you didn't even pay attention the first time around, you will likely be making progress in areas that you're not paying attention to so much, which is why I highly recommend and encourage consistent measurements, circumference measurements with a measuring tape, and your progress photos. So that is this past week from week 2 or the end of week 1 to the end of week 2 here. Okay, so from days 1, 7, and 14, this is the progression so far. From the front, belly is shrinking down a little bit. I tried to put my garments in the same exact spot and hold the same pose each time, but I wasn't perfectly consistent. But at least it's the same garments each time. That's important when you're taking your before photos. What you wear definitely makes a difference in how things look. So from the side view, I can definitely see, okay, the back fat goes away first, and then the upper abs next. So I'm happy with it. It's good progress. And now we're going to get into what I've actually been eating. So when I started this thing, of course, I stocked my fridge with lots of tofu and eggs and ground meat and chicken and rice and beans and celery and carrots and cabbage. I also stocked up on beverages, our various teas and seltzers and coffee. No drinking your calories at all on this meal plan. So I'm going to skip over week 1. We already talked about that in the previous video. You're welcome to take a look at that. And in week 1, our scale went down pretty consistently. 203, 200, 198, 197, 195, 194. Love it, 193. Day 8, it shot up again to 198 because I ate all that salt. We talked about sodium last week and what an impact that can have on the scale. And then this week I was kind of like a lot slower progress on the scale. I've got 194.6, 193.2, 193.2 again, 193, 191.6, 191, and then back up to 193.8. Okay. So let's talk about week 2 a little bit here and what is going on. So I still had difficulty getting all the vegetables in week 2, though I did get a little bit more here and there. Was eating largely the same things: eggs, Greek yogurt, rice, ground meats, some low-fat cheese, carrots, cabbage. Same things over and over again, really. Boring is good when you're on a diet like this, as long as you are eating things that you generally like. Having the same things over and over again, not a big deal. Now on day 13, lucky number 13 here, I did decide to take an off-plan, on-plan day. Let me tell you what that entails. So you see here, I've got my usual rice and cabbage and ground meat, big old bowl. Remember, each of these bowls is like that serving size with the measuring cup that I showed you earlier. I also had some scrambled tofu in here, but in the middle is wine. And to do that, I switched from one of our meal plans at the Nerd Gym to another plan at the Nerd Gym for a single day. The Power Up meal plan is generally what I'm following for this weight loss challenge, but the If It Fits Your Macros plan that we provide at the Nerd Gym will also have the same macronutrients, or it's kind of like the source code for the plan. So basically I said, you know what, I want to take a day off. I'm going to see how much alcohol I can factor into day number 13. And this was in part due to my crappy mood. I was like, I just want a day drink all day today. And that is exactly what I did. I had a total of 20 ounces of wine during my day. And then like one big meal and a little protein for snack before bed. So I did take the day off, but it didn't have a big impact, I don't think. Let's go back and take a look. So next day, so 191.6, next day I was down to 191 flat, okay? And then the day after that, day number 15, back up again. Again, I think this is just water weight. Based on the measurements, everything is going according to plan. So yeah, it's really important to remember as you're going through your weight loss journey, you're going to go through weird, ugly phases with your body. You're going to have mood swings. Different weird stuff is going to happen. The other thing to keep in mind, as I'm talking about things like menstrual cycles, mood swings, that kind of thing, remember that you have hormones and chemicals that will get stored in your fat as you are gaining fat. So, and again, I'm not a doctor here, so like if any of this weird stuff happens to you, do definitely see your doctor. But as for an example, I have worked with people who had a menstrual cycle, like back in the day, and had not had one for 10 plus years, who then go through a fat loss journey. The fat that they're losing was fat that they had gained back when they did have a menstrual cycle, and they got a menstrual cycle again because the hormones were stored in the fat. So it caused a secondary weird little random menstrual cycle. I've worked with people who used to, many years prior, take psychedelic drugs and were gaining fat when they were taking those psychedelic drugs. And then when they were losing the fat would have flashbacks. So like, just, you know, as a word of caution, weird stuff is going to happen to your body as you're losing fat. Hormones that were stored when you were getting fat will be released as you're losing fat to some degree. Same thing if you were taking any drugs at that time. So just be aware of that. Be aware that your body's going to go through weird melty phases. It's not going to be like this perfect progression of, oh, I look a little bit better each day. Some days you're going to look kind of janky, and that's okay. You're going to be like, that's weird. I lost fat off of one thigh, but not the other. I do recommend taking measurements on both sides, by the way. That came up as a question from one of my students this past week is, should I take measurements on both sides if I'm taking like biceps and thigh? Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're a beginner and you are adding exercise to your routine. Oftentimes when we are just starting off, we will have one arm that's larger than the other, one thigh or calf that's larger than the other. These imbalances are very, very normal. And sometimes they balance out with strength training, which is kind of cool. Another interesting thing is if you're measuring your biceps, typically it will be your less dominant arm that has the larger bicep. And this baffles a lot of people, but if you can imagine yourself like taking in the groceries from the car, which hand has the groceries, all the heavy groceries, and which hand has the keys, right? So we tend to use our less dominant arm for the grunt work and keep our more dominant hand free. Or like moms who have like a kid on one side and are like doing stuff around the house with the other hand. So that's a fun little bit of thing. Let's see, what else is going on? So a lot of challenges for me personally with mood this week. Again, now as my weight loss begins to taper off, as things begin to taper off, the main things that I can do to prevent that happening is making sure that I'm getting enough sleep, that I'm adding the walking. That was the other thing. My sleep was all kinds of screwed up this past week. Again, just having to do with mood swings and probably drinking too much wine on one day, and having headaches and everything else. So getting enough sleep is really crucial for your fat loss journey. Your body will not want to get rid of fat if you are chronically underslept. So please do work on your sleep. If you are hitting a plateau, then make sure that you're adding that 10,000 steps per day. Like I said, that was gonna be my plan for this week, but with this weird pain in my heel, I'm just taking some extra time to do foot care this week, giving myself a massage, making sure that it's gonna go away and that everything's fine before I do extra walking on it. And of course, stay hydrated. I do not on these journals document my liquid intake, generally because I'm just very good. That's like the easiest part for me, is getting enough liquids in between the seltzer and the coffee and the tea, and I love water. It's pretty easy for me to stay hydrated. In general, if you are a person who has difficulty staying hydrated, make sure you're getting at least 3 liters of water per day. That is what I would consider the bare minimum for somebody who is trying to do a weight loss journey, or for somebody who is exercising. The average person sweats between 1 and 6 liters per day, so we want to cut it down the middle and at least get 3 liters per day for your water. All right, y'all, if you have comments or questions, there's nothing too weird for me, I promise. Go ahead and pop them down in there. If it's something that you don't want to be publicly visible here on YouTube, you can, if you're a member of the Nerd Gym, of course, you can message me through Patreon there. If you're not yet a member of the Nerd Gym, go ahead and join. www.thenerdgym.com. We'll help you out with meal plans. We do online exercise via Zoom, private group Zoom online exercise classes, so that you can get it done from the convenience of your own home. So you can get off your butt and move a little bit. Move it, and groove it. Okay, so I will see you all next time. Have an awesome day, and I look forward to talking about what happens in week 3 next week. Bye.